Anything else you want to touch on? Eric, I feel like you might have some questions.
Come on, Eric, give me a question, man.
Well,
Heating
you
up.
kind of spoke about.
I'm warming up, Eric.
You heating up? I was gonna say I'm interested in the Theo Ratliff thing, and because I was gonna ask, like, playing street ball, the New York energy when those tournaments really meant something at the height of that. Not every NBA player can necessarily make that transition because not every NBA player necessarily played on the courts, especially courts in New York City. You got guys who are used to playing in prep school and in a more organized kind of like environment. It wasn't this type of environment. Like a lot of them were coddled and stuff. It's like I'm interested. How often did you see that where you see NBA players who are kind of like a fish out of water and really not knowing how to react or how to really, like getting taken out of their game completely? Because it's one thing to play on an NBA court. And then, vice versa. Some of those street players, I would imagine, probably wouldn't be able to play in an NBA game also.
Because it's different, yeah.
It's a different type of game.
Right. We sent a couple of them home as a team. We sent a couple of guys who thought, well, they are from the streets, some of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm talking about Steve Francis. We sent him home before the game ended.
Wow.
You know what I mean? There was one particular game where he was coming and the place was packed, and then the announcers was going, he's here, he's here. They souping this guy up, right? and so he's behind the people, getting ready to come through the hole. And he got this towel wrapped around it, said like he's the Ayatollah Khomeini, right?
Oh boy!
So I'm like, yeah, let that nigga in. She was like, let that nigga in, right? And I had Lamont Jones, I had A. Barter, I had Charles Jones, antifreeze. My guards, if you were a guard, like you probably was gonna have a bad day. You better be about it.
So they looked at Steve like food, basically.
And the fans were, they wanted Steve to bust our ass.
Right.
Man, my guards were taking turns on Steve Francis. Steve Francis tried to sneak out with about 5 minutes left in the game.
Wow.
And our fans was all over him as he was trying to get out of the park. And that's a true story. All my stories are true.
And I bet he don't forget it.
Yeah.
Now this is, just for context, this is Houston Rockets Steve Francis, or this is New York Knicks Steve Francis?
No,
Orlando
This
Magic.
this was Steve Francis who tore up the NCAA, and then whoever he played for in the first 2-3 years of his career, that's Steve Francis.
Rockets.
In his prime.
So this is Stevie franchise.
Yes. In his prime.
Interesting.
Handled.
We had there was other guards. One time we needed to win a playoff game, and, we were playing against Jamal Tinsley, Jason Terry. Charles wasn't with me anymore. He was on this particular team. So that was 3 NBA guards right there. And we needed to win by 9 to make the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, because it's like, that's like the tiebreaker. Like, you got to win by a certain amount to break a tie.
Situation.
Okay.
Exactly.
Wow.
And you know what? Adrian and Lamont, I didn't have Lamont at that time. I had Annie Freese and I had Curtis Stinson.
Yes, sir.
Kurt Stinson, shout out to Kurt, one of my favorites.
Wasn't he the MVP of the G League?
Yeah, he did win MVP in the G.
A couple years ago.
He went to Iowa State.
Yeah. And that was many years after he was with you, too. Right? Yeah. You had him years before that. Yeah, I remember him.
Kurt Stinson from the Bronx. Just, one of my favorites, man. I love that kid. Miss him. Shout out to you, Kurt. Yeah, so, you would see situations where NBA guy would come in and
they couldn't cut it.
It didn't go so well for him. But then you also got to see, like, especially when Fat Joe brought one game. They were playing Murder Inc. And
Damn, even Murder Inc. had a team?
Yeah, they did.
I think I did see that.
So Fat Joe and them is there. And,
that boy had a team. Huh?
And what's my man's name? Ja Rule was there. And Irv Gotti, you just mentioned. They're people. And that particular game had about 12 pros.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Joe had Kenyon Martin. What was that?
Catino
Mobley. Remember Catino Mobley?
Mobley. I used to like Mobley a lot.
Yeah. Is he still playing in the Big Three?
He might.
He was there for a while.
Yeah, he's like the only dude with a full head of gray hair,
gray beard. Yeah,
now
old baller.
But that was a game where we were seeing an NBA game.
Yeah.
In 55th.
That's fire.
You know? And it's hard to come back from that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To me, that had a lot to do with, you know, if when 55th fell, it fell.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah.
You know? Shout out to all y'all.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because you mentioned when you was talking about Steve Francis, you was like, "This is the Steve Francis that just tore up the NCAA," and I know you love the NCAA.
Steve Francis
and Steve Francis. Okay. Like, I know this to be your ultimate goal. Maybe people don't know. I don't know if this is your ultimate goal, but I know it's one of your biggest goals or your biggest dreams. And I always thought it would surprise people, because if I asked y'all, like, what do y'all think his dream is, you'd be like, probably NBA coach, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But your actual dream was what? Or is what? Is it the same? Is it different? You know what I'm referring to?
I always wanted to coach on the college level, the ACC. I always wanted to win the NCAA tournament. Particular interest in the ACC because they had Coach K and Roy Williams and Boeheim, you know, before he left the Big East. I'm still mad at him for that. They had, you know, they got those big name coaches, and, you know, Duke, North Carolina rivalry is crazy. But I always wanted to coach on that level.
Why that over something like the NBA?
Because in college, you coach. The NBA is very similar to 55th.
Players League.
I think anybody.
Yeah.
I think a lot of anybody's coaching the NBA. That's why people talk to me about a Phil Jackson or, you know, guys like that. And all I could think of is, you know, I like real coaches. I like Jay Wright. I love Jay Wright. I love...
That's the Villanova coach, right?
Yeah, the Villanova coach. He's the best in the business. It ain't even close. I love Riley Massimino. Do you guys know Riley Massimino?
No,
I'm not familiar.
He was the Villanova coach
Before
that won the 85 national championship. The biggest upset in NCAA history.
Wow.
Who they up against?
They beat Georgetown, Patrick Ewing and them.
Okay.
In the championship game.
I remember.
Where Villanova, they say they played the perfect game.
Wow.
They shot like 70% that day. And Georgetown was great. They weren't good. They were great. Georgetown had just won the 84 championship. And, you know, Riley Massimino, the funny part is that Georgetown coach is John Thompson. Not the son, the father. And John Thompson is one of my favorite coaches ever. You understand? Those three guys, John Thompson, Riley Massimino, and Jay Wright, are the best coaches I've ever seen.
And just out of curiosity, because I want to, I don't even know this. I want to know, like, how your psyche works that tells you, like, what are you seeing from those coaches that say, like...
In-game adjustments.
Okay.
Things that I love. they control tempo. They always control tempo. They won with less pros than Roy Williams and Coach K and all these guys who are revered. I don't know if I'm using the right word.
Yeah, revered, like praised.
Yeah, they are praised beyond belief, and I seen those guys mess up championships. You know what I mean? And all I mean by that is, they've had squads that shouldn't have gotten touched.
Yeah.
And they found a way to blow it. Where Jay Wright, like, who's his pros? He got Mikal Bridges and he got Jalen Brunson. Right? Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, these are not. This is not Michael Jordan.
It's not.
It's like,
you know what I mean?
DiVincenzo was on. Dante DiVincenzo was on that team.
Yeah.
They're not Michael Jordan. They're not LeBron. They're not.
They're basically, pros. As coaches, though, they basically maximize talent. Whereas these other coaches are fed loaded teams.
McDonald's All-Americans. Duke, North Carolina, Kansas. Always loaded with McDonald's All-Americans. Yeah. Like all up and down their roster.
Right.
And I don't think Mikal Bridges was a McDonald's All-American. This is the very best Villanova guys.
Yeah.
Not Mikal Bridges, not Jalen Brunson. I don't remember them being in the McDonald's game. Maybe they were, and I didn't know. Who's the other one? DiVincenzo.
Lowry.
Kyle Lowry. Who's a Jersey dude. Kyle Lowry is very cerebral. He reminds me of Mark Jackson.
I like Kyle Lowry.
Like they are very similar point guards. Like their physical is regular.
Yeah.
But their hearts are huge, and they understand again. Their basketball IQ is phenomenal. This kid is like that too, Jalen Brunson. He scored 41 the other day. I don't know how.
Yeah, he lost me my parlay. That was my 18 out of 19 leg parlay. That was him. He scored 41. I had him for under 30 and a half. Because you said it yesterday when I explained it to you. You was like, you lost, and all you expected was for Jalen Brunson to be Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he puts up 41, but yeah.
41. Still to this day, I have to see the game.
And I would bet under 30 and a half on him every night and probably win that every night except that day.
Well, especially if Luka's playing, but now that Luka's not playing, he got the green light.
Yeah, well,
right.
And still, I wouldn't expect him to drop 41.
That's
He's
true.
not that type of player.
Point.
Yeah.
Good point.
You know what I mean? And for him to do that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But going back to what I was saying, even Raleigh Massimino and them, when they won, they had Easy Ed Pinckney from the Bronx, right? Easy Ed. They had the McLean brothers, Gary McLean and his brother, Dwayne McLean. I don't think he was his brother, but they both were named McLean.
Okay.
And but these guys, like Easy Ed, had a pro career, but not like, So, I love coaches that really show you how they coach. Bill Belichick is a real coach. You understand? But most coaches, I'm sorry, I
think that's an interesting point.
I don't see it.
It's an interesting point because I see what you're saying. It's like on the pro level, they're paid more to manage personalities. You got big egos. And there are some who are X's and O's and some who are cerebral and they make adjustments. But by and large, when you put these super teams together, right, which is the last several 10, 15 years has been, a big part of the NBA, you really want a coach who can stand up to the players, who has and command their respect and stuff, and kind of manage the personalities. And that is more so, in some ways, more important because the players play. Like you said, you could put anybody on the sidelines there. When you got a team with Stephon Marbury, Al Harrington, and all of these dudes, it's like it's hard to mess that up.
Skip,
right?
Kareem Reed, Darren Phillips. They had a monster. Zach, what is his name? He was from Michigan State. Zach. Zach Randolph,
Ooh.
had a great NBA career.
Yeah.
Nick should have never traded him. That was a bad one.
Yeah,
That
no.
was bad.
There's a lot of that. You know, the NBA actually resembles 55th.
That's a great analogy.
They really do. If you notice, every year, teams have new coaches now.
Yeah.
They saying, okay, you coach them this year.
We was just talking about yesterday. We was watching like the Memphis and Minnesota post-game press conferences, and they showed the Memphis and Minnesota coaches, and we was like, who the hell are they? Like, we've never seen them before. But here, Memphis is the 2 seed, and, you know, Minnesota's the 7 seed. But I was going to say, okay, so what would you say, like, at this point, you've yet to coach at the college level. So reflecting on that, what would you say is, have you made any mistakes along the way that you acknowledge as mistakes? Do you have any regrets along the way? Just something like that.
Have you had opportunities?
Have you just not been given opportunities? How do you feel about that overall? You know, because you've rubbed elbows with so many people. Yeah. You know, people that many people know, very important people. Yeah. And so what would you say in regards to that?
So I feel I'm right where I belong.
Okay.
God has a plan for me.
Amen.
I may be knucklehead and, you know, don't follow directives the way I should. But God has a plan for me. I was coaching at LaSalle High School. That was supposed to be my first step towards becoming a Division I college basketball coach. So that's where I found Lenny Cook. So
it's also Ron Artest's high school, as well.
So I and Sham God and Steve
God
McDowell.
well.
These are kids who play for me. You guys know Sham God, right?
Of course.
Yeah. And I see him out there now too, even on the sideline with
Dallas.
Dallas.
Yeah.
After the 41 by Jalen, you seen him right there. Yeah, he was right there with like celebrating with him.
Someone posted in our group chat talking about like for LaSalle alumni. Because
Lewis.
I went to LaSalle and
Lewis.
a bunch of my boys went to LaSalle. But I knew Shamgar before the LaSalle thing. It was just a coincidence that I went to LaSalle, but I knew Shamgar growing up as a kid.
As a kid in Little East.
Yeah.
So I get to LaSalle and, you know, I'm an assistant coach with a couple of other assistants. And the coach did not utilize me.
Who was the coach?
Bill Abra was his name.
He taught me finance in my senior year of high school. Did you know that?
Nah, I didn't.
He was my finance teacher, and he was Lewis. Like
we need to talk more, Joe.
Yeah. He was Lewis, Ivan. We went to high school together, and they took accounting with him. They took finance with him. I don't know if Ivan took finance, but I know Lewis took finance, and he also taught history. But yeah,
so it didn't work out as him being a coach.
Clearly not. But he was good. He was good. He was a good finance teacher. I can't speak to him as a person, but
he was definitely a good man.
Okay,
but he didn't use me. He didn't use me correctly.
Okay,
he should have saw him and others. You know, there's a lot of people out there that they see. And yet, you know,
they might not do.
My job is to help you, to help you, to help you. If I can help you, I should help. If I see something in you,
you're cut from that cloth, though.
Yeah.
I'll say
as like
we're
player
cut
development,
from that
same
cloth.
thing. Yeah.
You know, we've had people along the way that have shown us that way.
Right.
But some people see, like you said, and instead of helping, they get intimidated.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So they might not put that extra effort to help you get a step ahead, knowing that means they got to step down or something. Right. You know?
It's funny you said that because we used to lose to St. Ray's. Gary DeCesar. Now, Gary DeCesar was a hell of a high school basketball coach, right? He wound up in Chicago somewhere coaching out there.
Mhm.
He was like the guy in charge of the ABCD camp. Gary Caesar was big. So when we used to play St. Ray's, when Gary saw me on the LaSalle bench, Gary would come and talk with me, like pull me to the side, like, how you been? Blah, blah, blah. Because I got Gary players at St. Ray's before I got to LaSalle.
Yeah.
Gary knew that if I said this player is good,
He could trust
Gary would come to see him play. You understand? We had a big kid, Demetrius. It didn't pan out, but Chris McCray. Shout out to Chris McCray.
I remember him, actually.
He came. Gary DeCesar came to St. Charles on my word that you need to see Chris McCray. You understand? And so Chris McCray wound up at St. Ray's with Julius Hodge, who also played with us. You know, the point is, Gary knew, you know, who I was, and if I was at St. Ray's, I think that would have went different.
A different way, yeah. I was
You
gonna say that when you mentioned that, like, there was never opportunity for you to go
to St. Ray's
Gary and go to St. Ray's.
Yeah, no, they were good. They were good. You know what I'm saying? It's like he had an assistant coach that was there for a long time. Then he had another assistant coach. He was taking care of his
They
people.
already had their foundation.
He was
already.
taking care of his people.
Solid.
And so, I was there the second year. It became like watching paint dry. That's how I felt. You know, I was like, you know what? I'm 2 months away from being out of here.
And that's not good for your passion, because you're so passionate about it that the longer you would have stood in that situation, you would have felt out of love probably with it.
Yeah.
Which
I decided
God
to
has
go.
a plan, so
That's
you
right.
had to do what was right in your heart to keep that passion, keep moving forward and being happy.
That's
you know,
right.
that's number one.
I decided to go back to my neighborhood and coach the kids. Went right back into AAU coaching. You understand?
Yeah.
And
You see kids learning. You see kids having the passion. Kids that want to make something and achieve something.
But
that probably brings, I'm assuming, like a fire in you to like help them. You know.
But it speaks to that. He's someone that can see someone else, and in his mind, his goal is to guide them, help them, mold them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas these other dudes ain't like that. It's me first in a way.
That's right.
You know, and I always found it. I mean, to me, like, I know who you are. I know, like, we were talking about how he rubbed elbows with a ton of people. You've never been somebody that asks for you know, handouts or like, yo, like, and you got tons of numbers in your phone, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And it's never been like that. It's never been like, yo, I could utilize this connection maybe.
Right.
And, you know, like, it's never been about that. That's just not your style. You know what I mean?
I need you to express interest in me.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
understand? Either you want me to help you, or you see something in me, and so you want to hire me, because you want to help me. You see what I can do. You understand? And so when that fell through, I went back to the hood and, you know, started coaching. I changed some of the things. So if you asked about regret, I won't say I regret.
You don't like
it.
to, yeah.
You understand? I'll say that God needed me somewhere else. You understand? And so it is what it is. I actually coached at a JUCO, TCI, downtown, close to the Garden, Technical Career Institute. I was assisting a guy there. And it was pretty much the same thing. Like, you know,
And a lot of times
there was no advancement here.
A lot of times it's probably because I mean, you got to think about it. He's the guy you're assisting is a JUCO coach too, so he probably wants career advancement himself. So he's not even thinking about helping the next guy.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's thinking about, I got to help myself first kind of thing. Like,
And if you think about it also, like, I would imagine those type of that type of industry, you know, when you talk about the coaching, the business of coaching and the business of athletics and basketball, it's very much a fraternity, right? So like people oftentimes, especially when it comes to coaches, if you think about the assistants on an NBA team, the assistants on a college team, or the people who are elevated oftentimes, the head coach, they're former players a lot of times. Was that something that you felt because you didn't, you played college, but the fact that you maybe weren't somebody as a player in ball who was a high profile player who had this name attached to you that you could use to your benefit, do you feel like that, and this is something that I spoke about earlier actually before you got here with the guys, I find it when you spoke earlier about your influences, I find it kind of fascinating.
About influences?
Yeah, like I find it interesting that you said that two of the guys who pushed you and kind of taught you the game of basketball to a degree were two Latinos. Somebody who was from Honduras and somebody who was Puerto Rican. And you yourself, your family is from Puerto Rico. Typically, you said baseball is your first love, right?
Right.
I know there is a stereotype of Latinos because we're so dominant in baseball, right? Where it's like, oh, like what you know about basketball? You can't play, right? And I'm wondering if that is something that you encountered as a coach.
I was a killer, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, tell him about your ball career too. Let's talk about.
I wanted to know more personally about the step backs, but we could circle back. But but just specifically,
the step back jumper that you created, that Harden took from you.
Specifically though, like, do you feel like you not having being a part of that boys club, that fraternity and you being, specifically you being your background, do you feel as though those are things that might have kind of like stopped you from moving forward or on another level in the way you wanted to?
In life. Junior was born. Yeah. You know what I mean? Allison was born.
My bad, Pops.
Stuff happens.
Yeah.
No, but what you're touching on is important because when you look at the grand scheme of things, I mean, even in the world, it's black and white. What about the Hispanics? You understand? You look on the television screen and, Sofia Vergara is on the screen because she's got great casabas. You understand? We are portrayed the way blacks used to be portrayed when George Jefferson and them was on television.
Stereotypes.
Red Fox.
I know it. What's
Sanford
it
and Son.
Sanford and Son.
You know what I mean? Like when you watch those old shows, and now today, you look in the NBA. We don't have those pro athletes. We had remind me of Shaheen. We had we all of a sudden are getting college basketball players that are making the league, but they're not there very long. The kid from Oregon last year, you remember his name? A guard. He's in the league. He's good.
He's Hispanic though?
But yeah. I'm gonna get you the name. But
we could look it up right now too. He's doing that now. But keep going.
So what you were saying, right? I always said that my players can get that college job that I want before I will. Shaheen Holloway, for example. Sham God. Let me think. We got college basketball coaches. I always tell my players, there's two things that I like to tell my players.
Just pull up the roster from last year and let him read the names.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Join the track team. I always tell my players, join the track team. This is going to get you in better shape. And
load the TV, by the way.
I'm just trying to confirm if this is last year's roster or this year.
And make sure you're in good. You're playing for Seton Hall. You make sure you're in good with Seton Hall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let them know if I don't become a pro, I want to coach. You understand? Right. And so, like, my coaching tree is crazy. I got coaches all over the place. You understand? But Shaheen is one kid who played for me who, you know, March was his.
Yeah.
He was the most important person in March.
That's a fact.
Is it Chris Duarte?
Duarte, that's my dude. Who he plays with? Is he in the league?
He's in
Pacers.
I like him.
Duarte.
Yeah.
Right?
He's an older rookie, but he's good.
Yeah.
So there's other guys. Oh, look, Francisco Garcia.
I remember.
Played for years for Sacramento. Francisco Garcia is...
For years, we were clinging on to Melo being Puerto Rican, too. Carmelo Anthony, like...
Right.
Like,
Does he even identify as Puerto
He does
Rican?
got the Puerto Rican flag tattoo.
His pops is Puerto Rican. It counts.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll claim him.
We'll take him.
Does he claim Puerto Rico? That's the...
No, he does. He does.
We'll take him. We'll take him.
Yeah. My fault.
We got Carmelo.
Yo,
we got him now.
Melo's building courts in La Perla. He goes out to PR. He builds courts. Like
Melo was my favorite player because of him. Because he told me to watch Melo at Syracuse, and that's why I'm a Denver Nugget fan today.
One of the greatest college players ever.
And I actually met Melo at Rucker the summer of the draft.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right before he got drafted.
Yeah, before he got drafted.
Dope.
Yeah.
So my point being that, you know, when you play on that level,
mm-hmm.
you can get a job.
Yeah.
You're in the door. But I played at City College.
Right.
My own coach didn't like me. Floyd Lane is his name.
Yeah. Let's shit on him. No.
He didn't like me, Joe.
Yeah.
And we don't like him.
I could give you stories about that guy.
You should. I mean, you should. But go ahead.
I'm gonna leave him. He's really, really up there in age.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave that man alone.
We'll circle back in a couple years.
He was on the team that won the NCAA and the NIT, the only team to do it.
Wow.
City College was once a power. Wow. And he was on that team. He was one of the stars of that team.
Right.
And he was my coach, and he did not like me.
And I believe at one point the NIT tournament years ago was like even bigger than the NCAA.
Yes, it was. During that time.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
why do you think he didn't like you? What was it?
You know what? I was a street kid. That's for sure. I had a lot of flash in my game.
Okay.
Like the guys on the team, I barely played, but the team called me PR Pearl. You understand?
Pearl.
Every player on the team called me Puerto Rican Pearl. You understand?
Wow.
No, not Earl of Pearl, Pearl Washington.
Oh, Pearl Washington.
Okay. So when I was on the court, maybe he just didn't like my style.
Yeah.
Understand? It was too good for him.
It was
You know what I mean?
It was the future.
And
he
I'm
didn't
keeping
know.
it real. I'm keeping it a buck.
Too much sazon.
Yeah. a lot of sazon. But his assistant, a guy named Charles Jackson. See, this is what I love when I could tell you about this guy and that guy. So his assistant, Charles Jackson, coached the JV team, and he would always be, you should come play with me. You should come play with me, JV. And after a while, I got tired. I said, I'm playing with you tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I played for Charles. I played a couple of games with Charles Jackson towards the end of the year. Charles Jackson wound up a coach at Manhattan Center High School, and little Randy, your cousin, my nephew, played for Charles Jackson.
Oh, wow.
At Manhattan Center. But Charles Jackson that's my proof.
Okay.
Charles Jackson was like, no, come play with me, JV. He not really using you.
Yeah.
You know? But that's what happened. And you know, funny thing, you told me about Louse.
Oh, I wanted you to tell that story exactly.
The Gangsters, right?
Yeah.
So when I was 13 years old, I was playing Little League Baseball at Central Park. So we would take the bus, the M10 bus, right in front of a bar. There was a bar there called El Patio. So El Patio, me and Charlie would take that bus. And
Charlie, his brother.
My brother.
Yeah.
So when we were waiting for the bus, this old man popped his head out of the bar. And he wore the Stetson hat, the suit. He was that dude in Harlem, right? And his boys all wore the Stetson hats, the suits. They was gangsters.
I have no idea where this is going, do you?
They were gangsters, right? So he would yell while we're waiting for the bus. He would say, "Hey, Johnny," and I would be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And we would kick it.
Wait, why was he calling you Johnny?
Just he didn't know my name.
Oh, okay. And you just never bothered to correct
Hey,
him?
Johnny, I'm a 13-year-old kid.
Okay,
you know what
okay.
I'm saying? So probably the next week, we got to know each other a little bit. Like, he made it his business to peek his head out to see us take that bus to Central Park on 100th Street, right? So one day, he invited me inside the bar. So I go in the bar, and, you know, he needed a favor. So
A gangster needing a favor from a 13-year-old kid.
He needed a favor. He had a lot of game, right?
Yeah.
Louse was his name. I never knew his real name. Louse is not a nice name.
No,
right?
it sounds crazy.
So may he rest in peace. That was my man. So Louse decides that he needed me to walk with him up the hill. So I walk with him up the hill.
You just trusted him? Like, you was just like, you just trusted him? Like,
Louse, that was Louse. Louse was the man. The whole Harlem was afraid of
because, like,
those
think
guys.
about that in current times, like a 13-year-old kid and
I can see myself doing the same thing though at 13. Just
but
like,
remember, I was
take a walk with
street
me.
kid.
All right.
Yeah. Exactly.
And if you're always in the neighborhood, in the street, so yeah.
So he took me up the hill, right? There was this little store. We
you
used
just
to
leave
call
it on the table.
the hill we used to call La Loma, right? From our
Don't
parents.
put it in your pocket.
Okay.
Leave it on the table.
So we would go up the hill, and he would take me to this little store. And in the store, they had cigars. They were called Apparellis, something like that. So
You
he was
familiar, Aaron?
training me. He was training me to get his cigars.
Wow.
So he doesn't have to walk up that hill.
So then every time they saw you, they knew you were getting it for him.
Yeah.
Exactly. To like also
so
to
they
let
wouldn't
them
even
know, like,
question.
this kid
Oh,
comes
so
with
they
me.
wouldn't
Right,
question
right,
because
right,
you were
right.
him.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're all
exactly,
scared of him.
exactly.
Got you.
So, and they love Louse. You know, they were scared of Louse.
Yeah.
So, and whenever Louse needed cigars, I would go up the hill and get it for him, and he would give me money.
Nice.
Right? $2, you know, the change, whatever it was. But when you're 13 years old, you live in Harlem, you don't got no money. You know what I mean? This is a good deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
$2 is like
And
10
you-
back then.
And you helping the elderly.
Yeah. Okay.
So Louse decides to let me in the bar. I'm the only kid that could go in that bar, and they would give me
I like how
sodas.
it's up to Louse. Like, Louse makes the decision that he, as a child, is allowed in the bar. That tells you everything about it.
So it was Louse, it was Arthur Gass, and these guys was gangsters. They were number runners, right?
What's a number runner?
Benny Garrett, you know, the horses.
Okay.
Gambling.
Got you.
Benny Garrett, may he rest in peace. He died, and I can never forget this date, August 20th, 1983. Right?
Incredible
Benny
shit. Right?
Benny Garrett played for the Wrens, for the Harlem Wrens, which was the professional, they call it the barnstorming team. But this team's famous.
Oh shit! I never heard of him.
Benny Garrett was one of the soldiers for them.
Wow.
And a guy named John Isaacs, he died also. But, you know, I was amongst gangsters. And so it was time for the NCAA tournament. And so he invited me in. He asked me who was going to win. I had fallen in love with Marquette, a guard named Butch Lee, who happens to be Boricua, But I didn't know he was Boricua till 10 years later. Because
isn't his son
played for Shaheen. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
So Butch Lee has a black face. You can't tell he's Hispanic.
I know they highlighted him when they were talking about his son, and the whole time I'm thinking he's black and his son looks light skinned.
Right.
A little. So I'm
a little light. Yeah.
You know, so that's crazy.
What's the son's name?
Forgot.
I would know.
Lee.
He might be
Yeah.
Butch
But
Lee
he
Jr.
was big in this tournament.
honest.
He was big in this tournament and happened to play for Shaheen. So
You fell in love with Marquette.
During the season, I fell in love with Marquette. Fell in love with Butch Lee. I had been a UCLA fan because I was a big Marcus Johnson fan.
Okay.
Right? But I fell in love with Butch Lee. Marcus Johnson was already in the pros. Marcus Johnson is the reason why I'm a Milwaukee Buck fan. You understand? So Butch Lee was an incredible guard. The tournament comes. In the first game, they're playing University of Cincinnati. I remember that tournament like it was yesterday. Wow. It was in 77. Right? So they're playing Cincinnati in the first round.
Damn.
And they beat Cincinnati, but I remember Louse asking me, yo, who you like?
Yeah.
They were number runners.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? So they had a certain mentality. And so I was there for the entire tournament. Marquette wound up winning the national championship. And Butch Lee was the most outstanding player.
Wow.
You know?
And Los won a lot of money.
Yeah.
Louse, my bad. Louse.
So one time he walked me up the hill. Funny story, real quick. He walked me up the hill. He told me, so we were walking the street. So I said, why are we walking in the middle of the street? And he was like, no, you got to be careful, blah, 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 blah. He reaches down to his ankle. He pulls a gun out of his ankle. You know, the first time I ever saw a gun.
Shit.
He puts it back. But we're going up that hill. What was it that he said? I asked him, I said, Louse, what's your real name? He said...
This sounds like some movie shit, right? Like the way the movie ends, that's how it is.
The whole
Going
thing
into
sounds
the
like a
I
movie.
can see your dad young, but with like the same hairstyle, slicked back a little.
Right.
As a young 13-year-old or something.
13-year-old? Wasn't it kind of wild?
Curly, yeah.
It was
Yeah,
just
curly.
wild and curly.
It was like yours, Joe.
just wild.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Not like
Not
his,
as long, yeah.
But
You ask him, what's your real name?
yeah. What's your real name? And he goes, Louse. I go, what's your last name? He goes, Blue Goose. Right? Meaning, like, he jerks off so much. But I'm 13 years old. I'm 14 years old. I don't know what the hell you talking about.
We're in our 20s.
Got the joke. I got the joke years later.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's
like,
funny.
oh, shit, Louse was a snap. But
He snapped.
knowing him and them, I began going to every New York Giants football game at the Meadowlands because they had season tickets every year.
Wow.
I was in the end zone, right behind the end zone. I got to see the Joe Pisarcik fumble, believe it or not. It's the most famous player in Giants history. I was there. Me and my brothers was there. Charlie and Randy came with me that day.
Wow.
So there were days when they all couldn't come, and they would say, just bring your brothers. You know what I'm saying?
Extra,
I got to see the NFC Championship when they beat the Redskins. I got to bring my friend Louis Cepeda. Shout out to Louis Cepeda. When they won the first Super Bowl, and they won their first Super Bowl, the NFC Championship, they beat the Redskins. I took Louis Cepeda and Randy, my brother, who's a big Redskin fan. You know what I mean? The Giants, I think, shut them out like 17-zip, 14-zip, or 17-zip.
This is under Parcells, right?
Yeah, Parcells was the
Okay.
coach. Exactly. So I got to go to see the World Series with them. You know what I mean? Arthur Gaston took me to the World Series.
Oh, they were taking care of you.
Oh,
Crazy.
man. I had all kind of perks. Oh, they send me to basketball camp.
I feel like that's definitely not happening
tell that
nowadays.
with people just looking out like that, right?
Yeah, like,
and with kids specifically, right?
like today, we use terms, oh, that's my OG. And you're talking about a 14-year-old might be talking about a 19-year-old who
yeah.
ain't really even doing nothing for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
But you had OGs
Actual
that were
OGs.
real OGs
Real ones.
and maneuvered and moved like OGs are supposed to.
That's right.
Making sure the
Really
community's
protected
good.
the community.
The
Yeah.
kids are good. The kids find ways to work.
Right.
You go on a cigar, go get cigars is another like
Getting a little,
routine, like
my
a
first
ritual.
real job.
Yeah, like, you know.
No, but you know, I got like these crazy perks from them, and the reason why I mentioned it was I went to the tryout at City College, and the first tryout I was doing my thing, and you know, then we go home, and then the next tryout, when I told Louse and them that I was trying out for City College basketball team, Louse decides, let's go see Coach Floyd Lane. So I still don't know to this day if I made that team on merit or not.
Oh, okay.
Because Floyd Lane was sitting here and Louse was here and Benny Garrett was here and they were saying something to him. And I always laugh. I always go, this guy probably didn't even want me on the team and they probably made him put me on that team.
That's crazy.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But that was Louse and them. They were awesome, man.
Just looking out.
They were
Kindness of their heart.
incredible, man.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Louse walking in the street. You do that. You said he told you. Is that why you do that?
Probably so.
Because that's why I do that.
Yeah.
There's sometimes where like late at night, I remember as a kid, when he would walk me to my aunt's house late at night. Sometimes we wouldn't walk on the sidewalk. We would walk along like the street.
Yeah.
And
I do a Wish I Know too.
yeah,
my daughter.
my little sister. And that's
Is
funny
it 'cause
because technically I got that from Louse now. Like
That's
now,
crazy.
like you know what I
Louse's
mean?
tradition passing down.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Right?
Is it because the lights are more so in the
the
street,
street
than
lights
in the
and cars
sidewalk?
can see you? Maybe like what is it? What is it specifically? Do you even know? Did he
You
ever
have
explain
faster.
it?
You can react faster if somebody's coming from that building
Oh, okay.
or that alley.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like if you're on the sidewalk,
You're right next to it.
Now you got room to maneuver. You
Gotcha.
understand?
And you
And you
got
can run
cars to
him
maneuver-
into a car.
Yeah,
You got cars to
exactly.
maneuver around also.
Yeah, no, but that was that was an incredible young experience. Even in college, I wrote a speech about them, about Louse
Wow.
in college, and everybody loved that speech. You
That
know?
kind of circles back to my original question, like first question about mentors.
Right.
He's like the
that's what I
ultimate
meant
mentor
too.
that
Yeah.
impacted your life, kind of. Because
Yeah, no, he was the first one.
the first one, at least, because you did mention many after I asked the question. But it just seems like a lot of guys just like God placed certain people around you to either teach you lessons, show you like morals. I feel like that, at least what I'm picking up, you know, and it's crazy. It's
Nah,
crazy.
I've always felt like he's had incredible experiences as a human that you don't hear about because when people talk to him, the focus is on you as a coach, and they don't really see like all the positions you've been put in and all the situations. And another story, someone tell the Muhammad Ali story because this is kind of incredible.
Damn,
they
he
would
got a
never know.
Muhammad Ali story.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Okay, I was in 5th grade.
And you see, he's not like coming up here like, let me tell you about the time I met Muhammad Ali. Like, it's nothing to him kind of thing, even, but go ahead.
Thank you, June. Muhammad Ali, I was in 5th grade. I was in Mr. Marin's class, right?
There you go. that
Mr.
good
Marin was the
memory.
bomb.
What school is
Right.
this?
PS 123, right across the street from our projects.
Okay.
Right? So I'm in 5th grade, and the school decides to take all of the kids, all of the students to the movies.
Wow.
Right? So the movie was the first Muhammad Ali Joe Frazier fight.
Wow.
Right? So when we get to the movies, they give us scorecards. Like, score the fight.
What?
That's
We
dope.
were scoring that fight, right? So I don't know why we was doing this. And so when we get back to the school, it's the next day, and they were saying something about, over the loudspeaker about tomorrow's the last day you can turn in your composition. We were supposed to write a composition about that experience. So
wait a minute, you guys scored it live as it was
as they were watching the movie.
as it was. Oh, say you
it
say movie.
was a movie.
Okay.
About
Okay.
their fight. It was
Okay.
it was
So the fight
huge.
had
That
already
fight was the
happened.
biggest fight in
A
history.
winner had already
Right,
been
right,
declared,
right,
but
right.
now you guys had to watch it, score it, write about it.
I see what you
Right
mean.
about it.
Okay.
But that was if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Right? So I decided I didn't want to do it. And so this guy named Carl Williams, it was my best friend in 5th grade. Right? So Carl Williams decides to kind of mock me like, how come you ain't do it? I didn't want to do it. And he was like, you didn't do it because you were scared to do it.
Like you
You didn't think you
competition, right?
you didn't think you were gonna win.
Yeah, it was a competition.
I was like, whatever. You know what I mean? And when I went home, I decided to write the composition.
Mhm.
The next day, over the loudspeaker, the winner. My school, my government name is Caesar Rosa.
Same as me.
Caesar Rosa, right? So I won, which meant I got to spend the day with Muhammad Ali.
Is that not insane?
Yeah.
No
I
way.
got Deer Park, Pennsylvania. That's where his camp was. He was training, right? And so
There's got to be footage of this somewhere.
there's two things that I remember. There was these rocks, these big rocks, outdoors, and they had the names of all the big champions. Marciano, Joe Louis, dudes that were before Muhammad Ali's time.
Yeah.
Johansson, what's the kid? A lot of great old champions. And it was written in beautiful ink. It was very pretty. There were pretty rocks, right? I remember that. And the second thing that I remember was watching Ali train, right? So Ali was working on the rope-a-dope.
Wow.
The rope-a-dope is he letting the dude pap him. Pap, 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 pap. And then in the last 20 seconds or the last 15 or the last 10 seconds, I don't remember the number, then he starts teeing off on the dude. Right?
Fire.
Right.
So this was before the second Joe Frazier fight. But he didn't use it against Joe Frazier. He used it against George Foreman.
Yeah.
The famous fight that you see in Africa, he used that strategy. He was already, to me, I always felt like he was already planning to fight George Foreman, who was a big killer, a gorilla, he was calling him.
Yeah.
And so he was fighting Joe Frazier again. It was supposed to be their second fight. And he beat Joe Frazier the second time. But he didn't use that strategy till the third fight.
Because he was already perfecting it for George Foreman.
Yes, he knew he was going to have to deal with the big, he
he's
kept
like,
calling
I'm gonna
him the
have to-
big gorilla.
And I'm going to have to tire him out probably.
That's exactly.
Boom, boom,
And-
and then return fire. So let me start practicing now.
And Ali at that time, when he came back after being suspended from boxing, when he didn't enter, the Vietnam War, he lost all those years. He came back in his 30s. So like 30s back then is not 30s now with
Right.
the technology you have and the sports
right.
science. So he didn't have the legs he once had. Well, you couldn't touch him before. He's boxing you in the middle of the ring and he's jabbing you and he's dancing around you.
Moving around,
He
yeah.
came back. He's laying against the ropes partially because he lost some of his athleticism.
Right.
Now he's beating you with his head.
That's right.
Yeah,
That was
that's
one
amazing.
That was one of the best. That might have been the best boxing win I ever saw. Out of everybody.
Wow.
All these years, I've seen a million great fights. But that win, and I
Against
love
Foreman.
the way they put it in the movie. The movie that they do about Ali,
Yeah.
yo,
With Will Smith.
with Will Smith, and a few people have been Ali in movies.
There's a documentary that Spike Lee did about the Thriller in Manila when he fought George Foreman. It's really good, and like it goes behind the scenes and stuff about it. And like most of the media thought that Ali was going to get killed because George Foreman was considered, and to this day by many is still considered, the hardest hitter ever in heavyweight history. That's how feared his power was. So
I was peeking like this.
When he was like,
I was scared for Ali that day. I remember that day clearly. You know what I mean? He knocked him out in the 8th round.
Wow.
I think he called it too. I think he called the 8th round.
Yeah,
and he was rope-a-doping up until that round.
Wow.
Yeah,
Tiring him out. Like you said, beat him with his head.
Yeah.
But that's my Muhammad Ali story.
I felt like
no, that's a great story. I was gonna say, is there any stories you feel like? Well, first of all, I love all these stories because I don't feel like a lot of people know these stories. Anyone I've ever seen, interview you or, you're not telling these stories. So we appreciate you for telling these stories. I was going to say, is there any story that you feel you don't get to tell often enough that you would like to tell? Or is there a favorite memory you have or one of your favorite memories throughout your whole life journey? Or maybe if it's in your coaching career, your basketball, or
my
anything.
favorite championship.
Okay.
My favorite championship.
That's a good one. What's your favorite championship? Yeah.
We won Rumble in the Bronx.
Okay.
And I've won a lot of championships. A lot of different places, different type of competition. It wasn't just New York, you know what I'm saying? We went other places. But there was a national tournament in New York called Rumble in the Bronx. It was at Fordham University, right? So I had seen the tournament like 2 years in a row, but we couldn't get in the tournament. The Mustangs couldn't get in the tournament. For whatever reason. It cost a lot, and it was more important for me to get them in Holcomb Rucker and citywide, local tournaments than it was to get in that tournament. So Rocky and I decided to go to
Rocky,
New Heights.
his brother.
My brother Rocky, his uncle.
Yeah.
Not Balboa. I know he knows a lot of people, but it's not Balboa.
This is the Rocky, the same Rocky from earlier where he said is the reason you started coaching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Rock coaches girls, but at that when we first got to a place called New Heights, they had more money. We would be able to go to these AAU tournaments that the Mustangs couldn't go to. Shout out to Nick Blatchford, who was a really good dude. You know what I'm saying? He is a really good dude. I think he works for Under Armour these days. A big guy at Under Armour.
Shout out to him, man.
Yeah, shout out to Nick Blatchford.
I remember him too. Cool dude.
Good, cool dude. Good football player. But anyway, so
your favorite championship.
We Rocky was coaching the 14 and under, and I was gonna coach 16 and under, and so New Heights was in Rumble in the Bronx. So I took my kids and I took a few of the New Heights kids that were already in place, right? So we play on a Friday night, we win. We play Saturday morning, we win. Now Saturday afternoon, we're playing a team called Team Wisconsin. And so they had this kid, Jerry Smith, played at Louisville with Edgar Sosa. I don't know if you guys know Edgar Sosa.
He's a
Daniel
Dominican
knows kid.
Played Louisville. Me and Daniel used to always talk about Edgar Sosa. Yeah. So if Daniel watches this, Daniel loves Edgar Sosa.
So Jerry Smith was the man at Wisconsin. And, they brought an all-star team from Wisconsin. But he was that dude. And in this game, they killed us. They beat us by 24.
And it was the first game of
this was
the tournament for you?
The third game.
Oh, okay.
We won the first two games.
Okay.
So now we lose this game. We're in pool play. It's called pool play.
And it's a weekend tournament. So it's what, Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a lot of teams from all over the country at Fordham University. And so when we lost to them, after every game, I talk to my team. We got another game that night. So there was a couple of kids that I remember from New Heights. One name is Chris De La Rosa. Shout out to him. Great kid. And another one was a kid named Ruben Galando. He was a Jersey kid. He was a tall kid, and he had skills.
And just to be clear, these aren't your players. These are the New Heights kids that you're going to be coaching. So they don't have that rapport with you kind of thing.
Right.
Gotcha.
So, and it's hard to coach that way.
Yeah.
Right? So when we lost, I went out of my way to give them as much burn as possible. You understand? Which
is kind of unlike you in a way.
Yeah.
Because you, like we talked about earlier, if someone's not effective, but he's trying to give these kids a shot, I guess, right?
Right.
See what they can do.
It's really supposed to be their team.
Mm-hmm.
I added a bunch of guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Mike Glover was our star.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Mike. I love Mike. Anthony, shout out to Anthony and Anthony's wife and the family.
Mm-hmm.
They were always at 55th, the whole entire family. We're antifreeze family.
Yeah.
They called them, I forgot what they called them. But anyway, so now I'm talking to them after the game, and these guys got attitude, the New Heights kids. And then the kid Ruben Galando said something that I didn't appreciate. And I forgot exactly what he said, but I had to go in on him. I had to tell him, you don't know me now, but you're gonna know me. You understand? Like, he was questioning my ability to coach. I told him, you don't know me right now, but you're gonna know me. Right?
How old are these kids?
They were 16 and under.
Okay.
They were 16 and 15, yeah. So we walk away. We're playing at 8 o'clock that night. We need to win that game to possibly have a playoff spot. And so when 8 o'clock comes, the New Heights kids didn't show up. So it was just my kids. I had 7 kids left, but they were my players.
Your players showed up, though.
Yeah. Remember, this is my favorite championship, right? So then we beat whoever we played that night. And we were told we have our first playoff game, 8 o'clock the next morning in New York. There are no 8 o'clock games. Yeah. You understand? 9 o'clock had always been the earliest game we ever played. Mm-hmm. And so we show up.
Wait, don't even get to the game first, because I even like the setup going the night before.
Oh, okay.
So I'm with him that weekend. I just happen to be with him that weekend, so I'm here for the tournament as well. But go ahead. So that Nick and how
Jumba casually showing off again.
Nah,
no biggie.
It is what it is. So I just want to make sure you got all the details, because I love all the little details, because that's how I'm seeing it. I'm not, I'm picking it apart. But go ahead.
All right, June. I almost skipped.
Yeah.
So that night,
after the games,
we get to somewhere in Washington Heights where Nick was staying. Mm-hmm. So Nick decides to give me the keys to his car, right? And I had never really driven. So Nick gives me the key to his car. He had a long-ass car. I don't know, it wasn't normal size. The shit was long, right?
It was luxury.
So I look at Junior. I go, get in, June. You know what I'm saying? We get in the car. I drive it to 146. That's where I was staying with my ex-girl, right? So me and June got to go find parking. So I'm like, where am I park this long-ass car? Right? Where am I going to park this long-ass car? In Harlem or in most places in New York, you can't find parking anywhere. Now you got a freaking long-ass car. Right? So I find a spot. God gave me a spot.
But it was like 10 blocks away from our location.
Yeah. But we shoved it in somewhere. Right? So we go upstairs, and now we got to get up mad early in the morning.
I don't want to. I got to use the bathroom.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. You want him to keep telling it?
Keep telling the story, but I'll be right back. I'll be quick.
We'll edit that part out.
Nah, I'll leave. Whatever.
I'm joking.
I mean, you can hold off if you. I think I want him to get all the details of it, but
All right, yeah, he probably won't want to miss it.
yeah.
Okay.
We waited for you.
That was dumb quick. I'm gonna give you mad credit. That was probably 34
Let
seconds.
me know.
Don't
Let
give
me
me
know.
a 5. I didn't wash my hands.
That was probably.
Let me know in 5.
No, you
Go ahead,
good.
go
Just
ahead.
continue.
All right, so
Find the parking spot.
So now we sleep, and then we go on to an 8 o'clock game, something we never did before, right? So we get up mad early, and we find the car,
And we got to take a cab to the car.
Yeah, we had to take a cab.
we had to take
to
a
the
cab
car.
in the morning
That's
to
right.
the car.
No way.
To find the car.
Yeah.
Right. So we find this big ass car, right? And so I'm taking them to Fordham University, right? But the game is in Fordham High School. They're Fordham Prep High School, the high school gym, which is right next to the college gym, right? So when we get there, they have a parking lot, so it was easy to park. So me and June walk into the gym. It's like a little hall.
It's like a smaller gym. Yeah.
And it's silent. It's early in the morning. I'm hoping my players show up.
Yeah, because it's so early. It's 8 a.m.
We go in, and when we get to the open part where the gym is, fans from Louisiana. The name of the team was Louisiana something, right? So Team Louisiana, the whole gym was filled with their fans that came from Louisiana for this tournament.
It was like Ruckus.
It was packed, right? So it's me and June, and we got 5 players.
Which
right?
means 2 of your players
You had
didn't
to
even
suit
make
up?
it that early.
You had to suit up?
I was probably like what? How old was I at that time? I was probably like 11.
Yeah, about 10 or 11. Yeah. So two
I would have suited up.
players come.
First champ too.
2 players come a little bit
Not
late.
my first, my favorite though.
Your favorite. Yeah.
But it was 8 o'clock in the morning, so
Working
we
with what
needed
you
all the
could
men
get.
we could
Yeah,
get,
yeah.
right? So now we're about to play this team Louisiana, and we started with 5, and then we added 2 kids, one from the LES from around here, Justin Bright. He went to Park West High School.
Okay.
Justin Bright and his man Spencer Lane, they both went to Park West High School. Right? I had Mike Glover was my killer, right? I had Amari Furman, who's a college coach somewhere. I had Quentin Brown from Brooklyn, and I had a kid named Darian David who went to Monroe High School with Mike Glover. And then I had a big kid named Brian Howard, that was Rube's man. Ruben brought him to me. Shout out to Big Rube.
Yes,
You
sir.
too, Mary.
The whole family.
The whole family. That's right. Tiff and them. Mariah.
All right, chill out.
Ruben, little Rube. No, but so the game starts and we're nip and tuck. Nip and tuck. Nobody got more than a 3-point lead. And it's intense because the whole crowd is for Louisiana and New York. We had
Ridiculous.
I had one supporter. It was Junior. It was
sir.
me, 7 players, and my son.
Against the state of Louisiana.
Against the state of Louisiana.
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx, exactly. So we nip and tuck all the way, right? But the Louisiana fans was crazy loud, right? So I'm putting in work, right, June?
Yeah.
I'm putting in work, right? I got us fighting, and in the last minute of the game, where we never had more than a 2-point lead, we controlled the end and went up 8.
That's crazy. That was the number in my head. Like, that's how I thought I remembered it.
When we went up 8, June, the crowd was quiet, and I started going,
Yeah.
Got in your bag.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I started yelling, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just
Right?
real obnoxious.
I'm keeping it a buck.
Yeah.
Right, June?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? So this big ass dude, this big ass country Louisiana dude comes out of the audience and he's coming towards me. He was big and he was brolic.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank God for Mike Glover and Brian Howard.
Yeah, I remember them.
You know, and other people stopped him from getting to me. This was one fight that I thought I was gonna lose. Okay? Dude was brolic. Right? And they calmed him down. You know, we survived. We got out of that building. Right? We won that game. But it felt. How you felt?
I mean,
you was only 10 or 11.
Yeah, I mean, I remember feeling. I was hyped that we won, but it was kind of crazy. It was like a crazy atmosphere where it was like, damn. Like
couldn't believe
like we just like
witnessed.
made it out of there kind of thing. You know?
But I'm sure you were
So June was
that
thinking about his life.
adrenaline.
June was worried about his life.
Yeah.
Oh man,
He wasn't thinking about his dad.
Yeah.
No, but you know, we got out of there. But when I'm yelling, yeah, I don't ever remember being that happy and feeling like a badass motherfucking coach. You understand?
Dope.
I felt damn good thousands of times.
And you were, but on that specific day, you were at a disadvantage on all ends. Like
Not
the
enough
crowd
players,
wasn't for you,
not the crowd.
not enough players.
No.
Super
Early
early,
in the
in the morning.
Yeah.
Drove a car he shouldn't have been driving. Didn't know how to drive, but we made it there. You know?
Yeah, it was a great day, right?
Yeah.
So now we're gonna play New Jersey Elite in the semifinals to go to the championship. We beat New Jersey Elite. You know, we surgically took care of them. You know what I mean? Like we just jumped on them and stood on them, and they were good.
By this point, you had 7 guys, though?
Yeah, we had 7 for the day.
Okay.
So we beat New Jersey Elite. Now we're going to the championship. Who do we play? Team Wisconsin, who beat us by 24 the day before.
Oh, okay.
Jerry Smith and them. Team Wisconsin. Nip and tuck all the way. And we win the championship. We survive and win the championship.
Wow.
National tournament. That.
Did your team return? Like the other guys from the team return for the championship?
No.
I would have not even welcomed them back anyway.
Nah. But I still think about Ruben Galando.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Shout out to Ruben.
Say that again?
Shout out to Ruben.
Yeah, shout out to Ruben Galando, wherever you are.
Exactly.
Okay?
I know he heard about that chip.
Like the kids, in that time, that was like the beginning of social media. And so they was into what they were doing. You understand? So if they was in this tournament, they was looking at it online, whatever social media was back then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Forums and things like that they
yeah.
had.
You
Like
know,
AOL.
that was like, I've won a lot of championships, great championships. The one at 55th was super. I gave glory to God. It was on DirecTV. And, you know, people saw it all over the country. And I gave God the glory.
Yeah.
You know, I was that excited about that one. But which one was my favorite? This Rumble in the Bronx Championship. And it was, I shared it.
The most adversity.
Listen, Rumble in the Bronx is a perfect name for it because it almost ended up in that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was going to say, you didn't even tell the part on the layup line before the championship game.
Oh, yeah.
That this is just one of the funniest
funny.
little
This is
detail.
funny. Yeah.
That it's just mad random, but
So because we played
the 8 o'clock
Friday,
game, yeah.
3 games on Saturday,
And then 8
and
in the
then
morning.
2 games on Sunday, including
One
the
game
8
at
o'clock
8 in the
game.
morning, yeah.
Now we're about to play the championship. We're on the layup line. I bought them
What time
Snicker
is it?
bars,
What time
right?
is it by that point?
I don't like 2 in the afternoon.
Okay.
I bought them Snicker bars.
To keep their energy up. Like,
Their energy.
and I don't, to this day, I don't know that that's a real thing. Like,
No. I found out that
it's absolutely.
you get a jolt. And then you come way
it's
down.
like a sugar.
You know,
Yeah.
I almost blew the chick by giving them Snicker bars.
But in his mind, he thought like, all right, I got it. This gonna give him energy.
I gotta give some
eating
energy.
Snicker bars on the layup line. Like shit was hilarious. The other team must have been so psyched out, right? Like, what the hell is going on over there?
He was coaching 7 diabetics. They needed sugar.
All right, we did him by 24 last time. This time, you might be able to do 30.
Oh Lord.
But just
That's
That was
crazy.
funny. June remembers details that something like that. June, this is not
I'm
the
seeing
first
it through a
time he
different
has
lens.
told me about that.
Yeah.
I've forgotten that before, and June has told me about that.
You know what I find interesting though? Like you're describing the timeline of these games, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's like back to back to back. Like all of these games are happening literally within the 3
so
days.
it's a weekend tournament. Yeah, it was a weekend tournament.
Multiple
and then,
games a day.
And this is AAU, right?
Yeah.
So, what is your opinion on AAU in general, being an AAU coach, and in terms of it preparing players for the next level? Because there's a lot of debate on, does it do more damage? Are they learning the fundamentals when they get to the college level, they get to the pro level? And also, you know, is it doing, because these games, you get in 2 a day sometimes, and you're playing multiple games on a weekend, is it spending their legs at a young age? Where is it contributing to the injuries, the ACL tears that we see common in basketball and things of that nature?
I now that you mentioned it, I wonder about that. But I'm gonna say this: when I was a kid, we always played on concrete, right? Summer leagues on concrete. So dudes, I would hear dudes whisper, yo, concrete is bad for your knees. Now, you never see kids playing in the park. Kids who play ball now are in AAU tournaments in the gym. You understand? That's a plus. That part of it is a plus. But now you're talking about ACL injuries, you know, that's a medicine type thing, you know.
Yeah.
Doctors who can answer that one.
Yeah,
but I wonder about what you just said.
But
that was a great question.
Speak to the part about just preparing kids in general. How does the AAU circuit prepare kids? Do you think they do it well? Does it harm them more than good? How do you think it's handled?
The harm, June, the harm is the recklessness. The robotic. What I mean by that is these dudes go from game to game to game, Saturday, Sunday, game to game to game. They're like slaves.
No rest on their body.
To AAU basketball. Parents are spending money. I've heard parents complain. Damn, this shit is too much.
Right.
Understand? You know, that's a lot of money they got to spend driving to Pennsylvania, driving to Connecticut. You know what I mean? They put a lot of time into it, and only a certain amount of guys are gonna make it. You know what I mean? But the AAU circuit, you know, I'm gonna say this. After we won that championship, 16 and under, I began coaching the 17 and under team. And we went to a few tournaments away: Houston, Arkansas, North Carolina.
I remember that. I remember when you was doing that.
And so I had Lance Thomas. Remember Lance Thomas played with the
Yes,
Knicks, went to Duke.
And he was a New Heights kid, right?
Yeah, he was a New Heights kid. I had Lance Thomas, great kid, wonderful player. You know what I mean? I always felt they played them out of position. I would have never let him play the 4 ever. You know what I'm saying? When I coached him, he was playing the 3 and getting the ball all the time. You know what I mean? But Duke used him as a 4, and, you know, the NBA used him as a 4. for the most part.
And sometimes at 5 with the Knicks.
Did he?
I think I've seen him play the 5 with the Knicks at one point.
It's not surprising in today's NBA.
Anything could have happened on the Fizdale, but that's another.
Yeah.
But
yeah, continue.
So when I was coaching in these places, the one thing that I did notice, right, we had a good team, but nobody on our team could shoot on this New Heights team. But everybody else in the country
Splash
was knocking down shot after shot. You know how everybody shoots threes today.
Yeah.
That's what I took back when we came back to New York. I was like, damn, these motherfuckers could shoot all over the country. Yeah. And they black. They not a bunch of white boys.
White kids that
you know what I'm saying?
That way,
that's what I took away.
Which is the stereotype, right?
Yeah.
The white boys can shoot.
It was the truth though. Like
that's what it was back then.
Yeah.
Especially, but my whole thing is they are kind of like slaves to the game. Mm-hmm. They're running from game to game to game, and it don't freaking mean nothing. Mm-hmm. You understand? It's taken away from the high school season. You understand? I'm pretty sure there's some good aspects to it. You mentioned fundamentals. The game is just about 3-pointers in a pick and roll. You know what I mean? When I get kids in the gym, I teach them fundamentals. First thing. You know what I mean? And I drill them. And that's missing in today's game.
One thing I actually was going to say about you even teaching the fundamentals was that I don't know if y'all seen that highlight. Ja Morant, like, he hit someone with a move the other day and laid it with his left, and they posted it on the NBA Instagram. And I remember reading the comments, and it was just like, someone was like, damn, he laid it up he made a nice move, laid it up with his non-dominant hand in traffic. And I was just like, I've never been impressed with people laying it with a non-dominant hand. And the reason I've never been impressed is because he taught me when I was how young?
Like 7.
To lay it up with my left.
Off the right leg. And
it's never been a thing to me. So when I see like people hyping like, oh, he finished with the left, I'm like, so shouldn't they all do that?
Yeah. So
you at the NBA level.
Yeah,
how you not laying it with both hands like it's nothing? Why is that such a big deal? And it's because they're not teaching fundamentals and little shit like that.
But I feel like even down to like regular street ball level, regular pickup between people that aren't even playing AAU or anything, if you're good enough at ball and you have a passion for it, you're naturally figuring that out. You're learning that. Yeah. You're doing that stuff. Me personally, I'm not that good at basketball, but I've seen.
There's a lot of guys like you in the world, and they'll swear there was NBA guys.
Not me, never.
They're all over the place. Yeah. Oh, I hurt my knee,
and I'm asthmatic. I ain't running up and down that court.
That's the best one. I hurt my knee.
I could have.
I could have went pro, but I hurt my knee in college. I hurt my knee. I'm like amazed by people.
Given the fact that you have coached so many years now, like how many years in total? When did you start? What was the first year?
18.
I try not to think about that one.
Well, I mean, I bring it up only because you have a perspective of the players that have come through New York City, and not only on a street ball level, but like you coaching AAU, and you got to see firsthand. You've competed against some of the best players. I want to know. I'm interested because like New York City at one time was, a place that just breeded like some of the best players.
Yeah, you're right.
In the world in terms of basketball, and we have a legacy in New York City of like great point guards. You mentioned Steph before, Kenny Anderson, Mark Jackson you mentioned before. Like, it goes on and on. Dr. J wasn't a point guard, but he's from New York as well, Long Island. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like this, some of the greatest players ever came from New York. So I want to know, do you feel, because there's people who say that New York kind of fell off in that regard. They don't produce the same level of talent. Places like Chicago and other places have really kind of surpassed them in that. Do you think there's a reason specifically for it, whether it be like funding and from the schools or
it's these tall ass buildings?
Yeah, we were just talking about this.
It's the tall ass buildings, no air.
I was saying, to give context to that, I was saying I remember when I went to my first like college tour. So I was 18 years old, and I'm looking at colleges I want to attend, and I remember getting there to the tour, and there's a bunch of kids that are huge, like they look like high schoolers on TV, huge kids, and I'm short as hell, I'm little as an 18-year-old, and I was like, at that moment, like in my head, it clicked, like, damn, does being from the city stunt our growth for whatever reason? Like, is it the air, not, and that's what he's talking about when he says like the tall ass buildings.
Sorry about that, June. I'm not very tall.
You're not tall either, yeah, but
it's a
my bad.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a Puerto Rican thing.
But also
not many tall.
A lot of New York ball players just aren't very tall. They don't get blessed with the height like that, is I guess what you was getting into, right?
I'm gonna say that, everything's congested in the city, but then again, Chicago turns out more players than we do, I would think. We don't breathe the same air that they do. We tend to see each other in every single tournament. Like these guards are playing against each other, and they know each other's moves. There's a lot of things that we don't get here in the city, and that kids get in places like Florida and Texas, or this room, or this space that they get, top quality gyms. Here, everybody's fighting each other for the smallest thing. Like I mentioned to you earlier, a kid that played for me, Teddy Wheeler, Bernard's brother, right? Teddy's son is Xavier Wheeler, the point guard for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah.
And Xavier was Georgia's point guard a year earlier.
With Anthony Edwards.
And Xavier played in my little East League just like Teddy. Xavier played right before he left to Texas. Teddy moved to Texas, took his family to Texas. And I watched Xavier, and I go, Teddy took him somewhere else, and he shined. In New York, he's amongst a whole bunch of guards, his height, his speed, his strength. You understand? And then the school system hurts our kids. You know what I'm saying? And look where Xavier is. He's all over national television. You understand? University of Georgia, University of Kentucky. We don't get Georgias and Kentuckys from New York. We got Yada Gaines a few years back. Shout out to him.
I don't know if y'all remember Sunday Yada Gaines.
He
played for the Nets a little bit. They gave him like a little 10-day contract at some point. Yeah,
Yada went to Georgia.
He played Rucker too. Yeah.
We don't get the big schools. I try to tell people this is, they got all kind of excuses, and it's like, yo, stop the bullshit.
And also, like, we don't, even in New York City, realistically, there are no big college programs in New York City. I mean, there was St. John's, and St. John's was the 80s, and there used to be a powerhouse in the Big East at one time with Chris Mullin, Mark Jackson, and those type of players, and then Ron Artest. But
I'm going to get right to that.
But I mean, we haven't seen that, those are the glory days. Like, that's what we're talking about.
I was going to say, you said earlier, Louse sent you to your first basketball camp.
Right.
And we never got around. Got back around to that. But I believe that basketball camp has something to do with Chris Mullin,
Chris Mullin ended my basketball career.
There you go. Go ahead.
It wasn't a knee injury. It was Chris Mullin.
Wow.
There you go.
Exclusive right here.
I'm going to explain to you what happened. Louse decided to send me and my brother to Lou Carnes.
Because I wrote it. You keep going.
To Lou Carnesecca's basketball camp.
And you mentioned Chris Mullin. I
Right.
literally wrote it.
Lou Carnesecca is the great St. John's coach.
Mhm.
Right? Shares my birthday, by the way.
Crazy.
Lou Carnesecca, right? We go to this basketball camp. And that week I had no one knew who I was. And I had a great week. I was killing them. It was the middle division. It's 3 divisions. The little guys is the middle division, and it's the high school division. So in the middle division, I'm playing against Chris Mullin's brother, and some pretty good players. There was a guy named Matt Brady who was excellent. He was coaching on the college level. Matt Brady. Who else was there? A guy named Owen Kelly. Has a brother named Bob Kelly who was a star at St. John's right before Chris Mullin, right before Chris Mullin got there. But anyway, so me and my brother go to this camp, and we're on different teams, and I have a great week. And when it's time for them to name the MVP, I took the MVP trophy to Harlem. You know what I'm saying? I took that MVP trophy to Harlem, right? So Charlie's team won the championship. I always, Louse and them always bother me because Charlie's team won the championship.
Okay.
So they kind of couldn't care less about my MVP award, right? But I won MVP, right? So now I'm real feeling myself. So the next year come, Louse and them send us right back. Now we're playing in the oldest division. And that's where I met Chris Mullin. Okay? And Chris Mullin was huge.
Yeah.
Compared to me. We had a guy.
How tall were you around that time? Do you remember?
The same size I am now.
So what are you?
5'7".
No. How old at the time?
About 14, 15.
Okay.
So Chris Mullin, our team and his team was the matchup at that camp.
Okay.
We played them 3 times, and then one time during lunch, they made us play each other just so they can be. They were staring at Chris Mullin. They were staring at a guy named Roger McCready, who was our big man. Chris Mullin was actually their big man, but he couldn't miss from the outside. Dream team Chris Mullin could not miss from the outside.
Doesn't get enough respect. He was a really good player.
He was excellent. So when the week ended, when I went back to Harlem, I knew what a pro looked like. And that was Chris Mullin. He was 6'4", 6'5", and could shoot the lights out. You know what I mean? Very smart. Basketball IQ is bananas. He was on the dream team. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Not much else needs to be said.
Not much else needs to be said. He was on the best team we've ever seen.
Run TMC.
Which was that dream team.
I'll run TMC as well, yeah.
Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond and him.
Yeah, they were good. Golden State, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they were good. But the dream team was Jordan and them.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and David Robinson.
And he was with
Karl
them.
Malone. And Chris Mullin was down with them.
Yeah.
He's a marksman.
But when I went back to Harlem, I said, you know what? I'm gonna have to deliver more packages.
Yeah.
Because I'm never playing in the pros.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
And that quickly made me want to coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew I'm playing basketball just to play basketball. I know I'm not on that level.
When you were playing on those teams, were you somebody who would ask the coaches questions, like during games or even during practice? Like, were you inquisitive like that?
I was full of myself.
Okay.
I was real souped up.
You
know what I'm saying? There was a lot of arrogance coming out of me.
Do you feel you had to be like that?
I was humble, but in my mind,
You carried yourself like you was the shit, and you had the confidence, like you.
You said it correctly. In my mind, I was the shit.
Yeah.
All right. I really, I could do anything on a basketball court, just like football, just like the same.
Could you dunk?
Didn't have to work at anything except dunk.
He could clap though, right? You always told me you could clap, right?
Yeah, I used to dunk. I used to clap like this. I would lay the ball up and smack the backboard.
That's crazy.
what I'm saying?
That's fire.
Any
I've never seen that.
any players in today's game, or even your time watching basketball, that remind you of yourself
You,
as
I
a
was gonna say
player?
that resemble you, so that we could get a better visual understanding.
Kyrie.
The best one in the game right now, right?
I wish I could say Kyrie.
Yeah.
Kyrie is, in my opinion, he's the only one. Yeah, I hope all the NBA guys watching this. Kyrie is the only guy that I gotta watch. You understand? He's the only one.
Mm-hmm.
You hear all this nonsense. The media feeds you a whole bunch of nonsense about this guy and that guy. Kyrie. That's why I watch. And I watch my Bucks and my Yango. That's Giannis.
Yeah.
I love
Giannis.
Losing
Giannis.
right now.
Yeah.
I know. I've kind of been peeping. I'm like,
Losing,
damn,
I'm not
yeah,
feeling
this
this.
is
I'm not
bad.
feeling this.
Yeah.
But
Damn, they down 16 with 9 minutes to go in the fourth.
9:40.
40.
Yeah.
but nobody that you could think of, like,
me
either
think.
today
Resembles your game?
or even in the past.
In the past, there was a guy named Scott Skiles
Scott Skiles.
who was tough. And you could tell Scott Skiles wasn't, he was never going to be like an NBA All-Star. But he played the game with a certain passion that I loved.
Mm-hmm.
But my game was skill, all skill. I couldn't jump. I wasn't fast, but I could shake you. You
Yeah.
understand? Like, I could shake you. I could lay you with either hand all day long. You know what I mean? I could shoot the ball, but as the levels went up, and this is what I try to tell point guards all the time, as the level went up, the defenders got longer, faster, jumped higher. Now your jump shot doesn't travel anymore. You understand? So when at a certain point, it was like, I got to beat you with my skills, this way or that way. You know what I mean? It's what made me coach. Knowing that that day came where I went to Harlem from that camp and said, you know what? I see what the real deal is.
I might have to pivot a little.
Those guys that made us play at half during lunchtime, had us play Chris Mullin and them again, they were college coaches who wanted to see Chris Mullin and Roger McCready. We were there basically as pawns.
Yeah.
Part of the game, part of the workout. You know what I mean? And, it's that kind of honesty that's missing. You understand? I was able to look at myself real good and go, nope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's a great point.
There's a lot of lying going on.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one point in my life that I was like, I want to be a football player one day. And then I got into high school freshman year. It was like, oh, try out for the football team. And then I seen like this big, like 7-foot kid trying out for the football team. And I'm like barely 5'2". And I was like, I ain't never gonna
I don't want to play
football team.
I don't want to play
I'm trying for
football.
the handball team.
You get a scholarship for that.
That was the Puerto Rican side
They
that
did
came
have
out.
a handball. I'm dead ass. There was a handball team. I was interested.
That's funny. That's funny. You guys have a question? Because I wanted to find one thing I'm interested in also is there anybody on the NBA level who you coached or you coached against that played different on the street court on the concrete in those games than they did on the NBA level that you could say that was like, oh, that's a big difference?
It's a good question, but they all brought it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
One thing about it, because of course you're talking about mostly New York guys. New York guys is gonna bring it, and like you're really talking about 55th. You're really talking about the EBC, the Rucker. Those guys brought it every single time. The passion, there was no passion problem ever. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
you mentioned Ron before, and I'm just interested because you talked about that you had to play that game.
I think Ron wanted to win.
Without Ron.
I think Ron wanted to win in 55th more than he did in the NBA.
Wow.
Shout out to Ron and Daniel Artest. Danny's my man. They
Queens.
both played for me. Yeah,
I love Ron
Queensbridge,
Artest.
that's right. No, but Ron, you would think that he was in the... He really did look like he wanted to win more in 55th than he did on the NBA.
Ron is bugged like that.
Ron was real.
Yeah.
You know, I love Ron.
Yeah.
You know, but all those guys, Joakim Noah, Danny Green, you know, they took it. It was very, very important. You know what I mean?
That's what they need to get to that next level.
Yeah.
Anytime you...
And we had guys who, you know, if things broke a little bit for them, a kid like Kenny Satterfield.
Kenny Satterfield was nice. I don't know if y'all ever seen Kenny Satterfield.
Kenny Satterfield, basketball IQ was phenomenal. I love Kenny Satterfield.
Did he make it? He didn't make it to the league at any point, did he?
He was, I think he had like a little stint with Denver Nuggets.
He had a small, I was going to say, I remember Kenny Satterfield from Rucker, and I remember there was an old NBA, it had to be either NBA Live or old NBA 2K, and he used to be a free agent in the game at some point, and I used to always sign him.
Oh, wow.
Because I knew who he was.
Yeah, no, Satterfield was, like, he was a two guard who had to play the one on the higher levels, because when he was in high school, he played with Andre Barrett. Andre Barrett was the one. He had to play the point. Andre Barrett was the point guard. Satterfield could have played the point at another school. Like, Satterfield was there. It would have been an easy adjustment for him. But him and Barrett were together since they were little kids. So those dudes loved each other.
They actually... one of like the most heartbreaking losses I've ever been a part of.
I don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about it, but them as a backcourt gave us
fits.
Yeah.
No, that backcourt gave us fits.
Yeah.
Shout out to that crew. That's the Rough Riders.
Yeah.
That's Artie Green is the coach. That's my dude. They had Puda the Gangster and Rasul from Mount Vernon. Who they had? They had High Octane. I don't want to leave nobody out. They had some dude that went to Syracuse. They called the Chrysler Building. They had Francisco Garcia. That was a hell of a crew. We always had trouble with them. You know what I mean? They got us in 2 big semifinal games.
I was gonna say,
but Satterfield was that dude.
Yeah,
for real. Love that kid.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you mentioned like there's a lot of lying going on. I just wanted you to touch on that more when you say that, because I was telling you earlier, like one of the questions I did want to ask you, which I felt I already knew the answer to, was what is the human quality or trait that you hold in the highest regard? And the answer you gave was integrity. And so, like, I just wanted you to touch on that more. Like, when you say there's a lot of lying going on, like, if you want to expand on that, what are you seeing in the state of sports or in the state of the world today?
United States of America.
I know you don't like Instagram. I know you hate social media. I wanted to give you the floor to let some of it out. If you want, if there's anything you want to say about it.
Integrity is super important to me. You know, we actually have a drill with our little kids where...
Oh, I love this one, actually.
Where we shoot the ball and we have to make 15 or 20 as an entire team. But each individual has to count how many they made, right? So we made 20. Now we're in a circle, and I'm asking each guy how many he made, because I want them to tell me the truth. I call it the integrity test. And so we go around, and sometimes we hit the number 20, and sometimes we don't, which means we lie. Somebody lies. Somebody in the group is lying.
About how many shots they made.
Understand?
Yeah.
And so kids have to look at me and say, I made 0 or I made 1. You understand? And I get that from them. I get it back from them. You know what I mean?
That's dope.
Sometimes we're off, but, you know, a lot of times we actually hit the number.
That's a great lesson.
Yeah.
Through basketball. Like,
it's accountability, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Stop lying. I just saw you shoot 8 bricks. You know? What are you talking about? When did you score? I was watching you the whole time. You know what I'm saying? But no, integrity is just super important. There's a thing like you see in schools, like a sign that you see in schools, because I work in the Department of Education, and the sign says, it basically says, do what you do, whether people are watching or not.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I just think it's so vital. You know what I'm saying? Be you every day. You know what I mean? Stop lying. You know, these guys in the media, they make me sick. They're the first ones. You know what I mean? Because they're influencing the minds of a whole bunch of gullible ass people. You understand? And you're not being truthful. You know what I mean? What do you mean? We just saw the replay. We saw what he did. Yeah. You understand? Like, you saw the replay too, like, backpedal.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
tell
saying?
it like it is. Say, oh, I got it wrong. I thought I saw this, and you know,
that's the integrity, accountability. Like, some
NFL,
people
man,
do
NFL.
not want to say, like, I was wrong. It's just like something in them. There's just
I mean, it's hard to admit. Like, I mean, I get it, but go ahead. The NFL. What was you saying?
And everybody in the world lies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, you shouldn't make it a habit. You know, but the NFL is like one where the announcers, they lie to you all day long. You know, they get the replay, they get a second replay, they get a third replay, and they still lying to you. You understand? And then the basketball media, they're horrible.
Whew.
They're horrible.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by that. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
like,
right.
You just, you know, you guys aren't even truthful. Like, what are you teaching the kids?
So the game doesn't lie, right? So it's like people could put their spin on it, but people who know and watch the game and know what the game is about, you know, they can see through that. And they can see through the bias and the slanted opinions and you know.
It also goes back to what you were saying earlier about how like someone who was there can vouch for it, whereas people will tell tales,
right?
And it's like, you know, everyone could be bigger in their own mind, you know, and they're not really reflecting correctly, and
they calling guys legends, and they didn't even see it. They didn't even see the guy play or coach.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's everywhere. It's all over the place.
Which is why I think it's important to kind of to get stories from individuals like yourself who, you know, you may not be the biggest name on a national stage, right? But people who know you, and I could say, like, we were having this conversation the other day. Like, I remember when I was trying to do a little research to kind of find out some stuff. I found a couple social media pages that you actually did an interview before. I forget the name of the person who interviewed you. It was a few years back. But in the comment section on Instagram, you see a lot of, like, I'm assuming former players of yours was shouting you out.
Right.
And showing you mad love. So, like, I could tell that the stuff that you poured into these kids over the years and stuff, like, you know, like you're getting that love back and stuff like that. Right. In some form and stuff like that, and people are grateful for, you know, for the stuff that you did and stuff like that, and the lessons that you instilled in them. Like, you know,
lots of those guys are opponents. A lot of opponents of mine over the years.
Wow.
You know, I love you, Tom.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's real. It's very real. They know what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was gonna say when he was talking about like what you instilled in kids and stuff, and it reminded me of this story that I heard for the first time last night. The Mr. Potato Head story. I want you to tell it because I think it's a dope little story. It's real short, but it's dope.
It's short. So I had a league for about 30 years, 29 years.
That you did for the kids.
That, you know, I did for the kids in Harlem in our neighborhood.
The Little East League.
It's our own in-house league. It's called the Mustang Little East League, right? So Sham God and all of them played in it, like all of my players. Steve McDowell, I can go on and on, right? Randy King. I love shouting kids out. Paul Little, Joe Harris, everybody, right? They all know who they are. They know I love them, right? So the day came that I gave them nicknames.
Yeah, and he was on the mic during games. He
Right.
was
I
the
announced the
commentary.
games, yeah. I not only announced the games, but I did the book at the same time.
Book too. I was doing the book from young. Once I was old enough to learn, like he taught me how to do the book, and I would sit there or do the clock.
Right.
Which
That's right. So Mustang Little East League. So we had a kid, and I didn't give him a great nickname. I named him Mr. Potato Head. Right?
That's kind of fucked up.
I named this kid.
How young?
Remember, I was young.
But yeah.
Okay, but you're young
so
too. Okay,
I didn't have any conscience back
no
then.
No filter.
You wasn't
Still
trying
doesn't
to
have a filter. Still
you wasn't trying to make a
filter.
fly name. You just like, you remind me of Mr. Potato
He's always been great with nicknames, though. I will say he's always been.
I gave out some great ones.
He has about 12 for me. He comes with a different nickname all the time for me.
That's right.
So he's natural with the nicknames.
I mean, I kind of
he called Goran Drive.
That's what I was gonna say.
Scratchy, like
Scratchy, yeah, that's my man, Scratchy.
But when I heard it, I was like, that's how I feel when I look at him. Like, it feels like it fits. But go ahead.
So I did a bad thing. I named this poor kid Mr. Potato Head, right? So one night I grew a conscience, and I started thinking about it. I was like, damn, I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person. You know what I mean? So I had him in my mind and my heart. So the next day was Little East. It was a Saturday. So when I get to the gym, kids are already there playing. We had this little monkey bar at the corner of the gym where kids could shoot in there too. Yeah. You understand? So they would play little games there too, besides the baskets that we had at St. Charles in Harlem. Shout out to Big Al.
Yes, sir.
Al Mims. Love you, Al.
Every morning, open the gym.
So I walked through the door. And there's a lot of action going on. And when I look to my right, the kid, same kid, and I had him in my heart all night, was dribbling, boom, 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 saying, Mr. Potato Head, Mr. Potato Head.
Like, you know he's hype on his own nickname, even though he thought
that I felt horrible about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's hilarious.
Wow. So he was totally embracing it.
Oh, he embraced
it.
He was
confidence in some way.
Yeah. He was Mr. Potato Head. He loved his name.
Yeah.
You know, and
is it
possible? I laughed. I just laughed and walked away. Yeah. I went to the score and said, like, I'm all right. I'm not so bad.
Yeah,
you know?
I could imagine.
Is it possible that he did not know he didn't get the reference of Mr. Potato Head?
He was old enough, man.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't know the timeline.
We've all known Mr. Potato Head since we was little children.
He was old enough. He was old enough.
Okay.
Mr. Potato.
Hey.
That's my guy. Still know him today.
That's a dope way to kind of take that. Like, not everybody would take it that way. For sure.
But I felt so guilty that night. And when I saw him the next morning, I started dying laughing.
You probably was thinking like, damn, did I give him a name that people are going to be clowning him?
Exactly.
And all that, right?
No. Look, everybody accepted whatever it was. It was like a beautiful place, man.
All right, so just before we wrap up, last question I wanted to ask was, we've heard all these great stories. Reflecting on you and your life, how do you think you would like to be remembered?
Wow.
So, like, summarize or wrap it up.
It's a deep question.
I don't care.
I like that.
Nah, I feel that. Go ahead.
Honestly, my only goal is to always be with my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, go to heaven and teach my children and anybody who's around me to just show them the word and give them the word. I pray that my son, my daughter, my stepdaughter, my nieces and nephews, my entire family, that's the only thing that's really, really important, is that we make it to heaven.
Yeah.
You understand?
Mm.
And so, I already know how my people are gonna remember me.
Mm.
The people who like me is gonna remember me in a great way, and then the people who hate me, so what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Right.
I really, really, honestly don't care. I want you to love me, Joan.
That's right.
And I do.
That's right.
And
And
I do.
I just want to say, I appreciate you coming here and being here, and I thank you. I hope, like, whoever does see this not only gets to hear these great stories that maybe some people haven't heard from your career, your life, but get to see the great father you are.
Thank you.
You raised a great man,
Thank you.
Thank
one of
you.
my best friends,
Thank
I
you.
think so.
and I just hope, they see that side, and if anything they get from that is this, and
Thank you, Aaron.
and definitely I hope they can see, because I definitely can see how much your faith has played a role in your life and your path.
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
nothing else mattered really except that passion and where God was leading you
And even what you said,
every
like,
step along the way.
Right.
So
when I
that's
asked,
that's my final words, and thank you.
Aaron.
Even when I said-
I
Well
appreciate
said.
you, Aaron.
even
Well
when I
said.
said, like, if he had any regrets, he was like, I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
So that's big. I just wanted to say, I'm glad we're doing this. It's an honor and a privilege to have you here. Getting a little emotional. I've been wanting to do this a really long time. I just feel like I feel so good about, like, sharing this moment with you. Everybody hears about you, Tony Rosa, the legendary basketball coach, and I was telling him a couple days ago, like, I think you take all the basketball stuff away, all of that, and, like, to me, you a legend without that. Like, you a legendary human, and that's really what I wanted to show people on this podcast, is that
Yeah, y'all making me emotional.
I'm about to lose it.
Let me
I'm
help
about to
you,
lose
June.
it.
Let me help you, June. And I'm nice.
Yeah, exactly. I'm about to
Don't
lose
forget
it.
the important part, June.
Yeah, you all that.
I love you, June.
I just want to say I appreciate being a part of this. For being able to share the experience also, because I know you had mentioned this is something that you wanted to do. I know Aaron told me the same.
Yeah.
So like being a part of this and getting to hear these stories for the first time and meeting you for the first time, it's a pleasure and it's an honor.
Thank you.
And
Likewise.
I don't know if you realize you are actually our first guest.
Yeah,
that
we
we've
didn't want to
ever had.
tell. We didn't want to tell you
Yeah.
early because we didn't want to put the pressure on you.
Number
But
one, baby.
Number one, the
Yeah.
first guest.
Put it in the
Number one.
books. Another one in the books for this man.
So yeah, man, it was definitely a pleasure. And you're more than just basketball, just from talking with you for now, almost 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
So,
we've been on
but-
this for a while.
But I hope that the conversation, because I felt like it was a great conversation. I hopefully you enjoyed it and it wasn't too bad.
No, you guys are awesome, man. You basically let me flow.
that was
Cool.
the goal, to
Yeah,
let you to really show you. You
Right,
know what I
right.
mean, and to give
Yeah.
you all the time you
You
need.
asked
Yeah.
some really good questions too.
Right.
Thank you.
Then appreciate that. Before we close though, I just wanted to give you the opportunity. The team that you're currently coaching now, if you want to kind of shout out anybody or kind of
Or what's going on in
or
your
what's
life?
going on,
maybe.
yeah, like if there's any way that maybe people out there could support, because I know sponsors and just funding for these leagues and for these teams sometimes it's hard to come by.
Right.
And stuff. If there's any a website or any way that people could get plugged in and support what you're doing,
Yeah, anything.
Like,
Any,
let us
anything
know.
you
So we
any
could-
final word
DM
from you.
me.
Nah.
hey, you gotta put that handle out, the Instagram handle. Yo, we gotta go to one of these
speak the
games.
language.
I'm down.
At
We gotta go to
Coach
a
Tony
game.
Rosa on Instagram, just so y'all know.
Yes.
So y'all can
Yes.
follow that.
And you can always
At
hit
Coach
us up
Tony Rosa
as well to get in contact
Yeah, if y'all need
with him or anything, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
as well.
We'll put that information in the description, so people could hit him up if you want to support in any way.
Yep.
It would be much appreciated.
Shout out to the guys that are helping me. Chris Ramos, an incredible kid, played ball for me. Xavier Nunez, an incredible kid, played ball for me. Isaiah Resto, an incredible kid, played ball for me. And Steve McDowell, an incredible kid who played ball for me. Actually went to LaSalle and Manhattan College, played at Manhattan
I used
College
to see his name on
and
the
at
scoring
LaSalle.
all-time scorers.
Steve McDowell.
Wow.
Yeah. Bevon Robin, who was an opponent, but who has popped up on me. If I call Bev and he's not super busy, he's there. He was one of the New York City great guards. They used to call him Eye of the Tiger. But a shout out to all those guys who have been helping. Joel Laraujo of La Agencia. That's my brother. That's my partner. That's it. I forget anything?
I don't think so. Also, I just want to say also rest in peace to everybody that was mentioned, because you did mention a lot of also people that were like great
Thank you.
people to you. So
We lost so many. Ali Mo. Rest in peace, Ali Mo.
Yes, sir.
I didn't even speak to you about Ali Mo.
You
One
wanna
of the
throw it in?
greatest. No, it's
Go
okay. I'll get Al.
Yeah.
No, Al, I miss him dearly.
Mm.
Shout out to Vicky, his mom. I run into her every now and then. Al, I don't know if you guys know Ali Mo. I know Junior does. But Ali Mo is
I've
one
heard
of the
of him.
greatest street ball players ever. So,
yeah,
we did lose a lot of people, and thank you for that. Appreciate it.
yeah. I guess
Close out.
just like that, baby. We'll be back next week.
you for
Everybody who's
watching.
watching,
Thank you for
thank
listening.
you. Exactly. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, put on notifications, follow all of us. Hit up Tony if you want to do any
DM him.
business. DM him at Coach Tony Rosa. And other than that, man, see you next week.
Love, peace,
Yes,
all
sir.
that.
Peace.
Peace.
Wow.
That was incredible.
Ah.
Yeah.